we are showing you from Project 44.
If there's anything to be learned from the past few years, it's that things don't always go according to plan. Everyone is asking when.
When will it rain?
When will it stop raining?
When will the chip shortage end? When will gas prices drop?
When will inflation end?
When will my shipment arrive?
And despite global challenges, supply chains keep the world moving. And it takes all of us to make them work. And when they work, it's like magic. Thanks to Movement by Project 44, the answer to where your stuff is and when it will arrive is at your fingertips. Proactively manage exceptions, reroute around congestion, and focus your team on what really matters. Every order, every shipment, every mode, everywhere. All from a single platform. Because when we connect all parts of the supply chain together, we can make it work. Movement by Project 44.
In a world where innovation leads humanity to a brighter future, a vehicle is meticulously crafted, marking the start of a global connection. The
Sun will come back tomorrow.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It's so great that you all came just to see me. There's no laugh to that one. No, welcome, ladies. So, if you can't see who I am, it's up there. Christopher Ludwig, Chief Content Officer for Automotive Logistics, and it is my pleasure to welcome you all and to be your kind of guide, if you like, for the next couple of days as we drill down into so many topics impacting automotive logistics and supply chain across Europe today, and of course what will come into the future. You're going to be hearing from many experts in their fields, leaders, hopefully coming away with some new ideas, some inspiration, and opportunities to partner with one another. The theme of our conference this year, re-energizing Europe's supply chain through value-added logistics. When we talked about re-energizing, we of course had a number of different ideas behind that. One, of course, is the goal to ultimately decarbonize and improve sustainability in logistics. Of course, we were also thinking about the transition, the challenging transition, the uncertain transition to electric vehicles, different powertrains, e-trucks, equipment, etc., and all that comes to that. But we also had in mind the energy that we need to bring into this sector. Of course, we know that the European automotive industry, even aside from the crisis that we're now kind of seeing, is not booming and growing at a really high rate. But we still have a lot of value to add. And in fact, across all of the volatility, perhaps even more value to add, which we're going to talk about. So we wanted to bring an energy, if you like, into this sector with all of you to give you those ideas, scope, inspiration to come away better. And of course, behind a lot of that is our favorite word in the supply chain, which I think some of our speakers will even probably challenge the definition of, as you'll hear over the next day or two, resiliency. Or how can we be more resilient as a sector? How can we be better? How can we recover better? How can we move from this reactive mode into this more proactive mode? So all of that came into view when we were thinking about that theme. And of course, that was before we knew that we would face yet another black swan event, yet another series of crises. We should have known, because as you all know, we don't seem to be short of these sorts of crises these days. But nevertheless, that is the context that brought us here. And as I mentioned, I think as an industry, we've had to structurally adjust, or readjusting, excuse me, to structural changes in the sector. We've been doing some research at Automotive Logistics, trying to identify the value of this industry. And you all know that the production volumes since 2019 are several millions lower than they were kind of before the COVID crisis and there. So we've lost something structurally like 3 or 4 million vehicles in the market, depending on how you count it. We don't anticipate a huge return to that. However, when we look at the European automotive logistics industry, we do still see growth. We do still see expansion within the fields that you're doing, inbound logistics, supply chain planning, vehicle logistics, service parts. And the drivers for that are not purely volume. They are indeed some of the volatility that we're all facing. We need to get ahead of those sorts of crises. So there is a lot of room, we think, and we think in working with all of you, to not only monetarily add value to the sector, but to help be more resilient, to help be more proactive, to think about the sector in a different way, in a more holistic way, end to end, where we think about working capital as much as we think about transport costs, and when we think about how we can better serve the customer. So again, there are other factors that are underlying that. We see new players coming into the market, many of whom are actually in the audience, whether it's from new brands from China, startups who of course will challenge some of what you're doing, some of what we're doing in the market as well, but also bring new ideas and new opportunities. And really that's a lot what this event is going to be all about, is how can we harness and leverage those ideas. If you want to know more, by the way, about some of the research we've been doing and our forecast and analysis for the sector, please consider our latest market report, which is available at a discount to all of you, so you can scan that code or you can talk to me afterwards. And of course, here we are once again facing yet another disruption that we certainly didn't anticipate, maybe some did, but certainly I think to the extent that is now. I'm not going to dwell on the details. I think you all know them. You can check them in the news. But I think once again our industry is getting tested, is being tested in terms of how prepared we can be, how well we can work together to mitigate this. You can see some of the figures there in terms of what the direct impacts are, in terms of basically the Strait of Hormuz being shut, the impacts that that is having on energy markets and oil prices, the impact that it does also have on logistics itself. There are container ships moving in the region. There are PCTCs. Of course, major arteries like Jebel Ali Port are basically seeing traffic pretty much stop during this sort of period. So we're seeing a lot of rerouting and shifting around. Once again, you're all probably on the phone to your partners trying to come up with alternatives. And I think to some extent, you're definitely getting better at that than we've ever seen in the past. But there will potentially be other impacts over the years to come. So if you look in the short term, of course, it's moving things around. It's how do we shift and adjust. In the medium term, how long do those energy prices and oil prices stay high? That has a direct impact on all of your operations. It'll have an ongoing impact on inputs into the supply chain in terms of materials and parts and production costs. And over the long term, depending how long this goes on, which we certainly can't really predict, we will need to think about structural shifts and how we can really kind of adapt. And I think without kind of trying to go deep into what those things are, the message that we all need to keep in mind, once again, is that we are in a very deeply connected, embedded ecosystem. Everything that you decide to do will have an impact on your partners, upstream and downstream. And so we would only just say, please do connect and work together on this and try not to leave any part behind, because again, you are all very, very connected. And it sounds very trite and simple to say, but I think it's true, and I think it'll come across in a lot of the other sessions that we have. And on that note, let me just also mention many of the partners, suppliers, logistics providers who are with us today, helping to support this event, making it possible, booths and stuff outside, solutions to offer you. Please do spend some time getting to know them, connecting with them. Many thanks to our premier partner, Maersk, who, of course, is also hosting our dinner this evening out on the boat on the River Rhine. So look forward to that. And to our many, many other partners who are out there with us, and you can learn more about, of course, during the course of the event and in the expo area. So please take a bit of time to get to know all of our partners and, as we said, work together in this ecosystem to try to overcome the many challenges that we face. Just a couple of words about ways you can do that here right on site. So, of course, if you want to connect to the Wi-Fi, there's the code. You can connect right here at the ALSC Europe network with the passcode that you see there, if you don't want to use the 5G. I would really recommend to do it, not least because, as ever, you have the opportunity to connect using our conference app. You don't just see the program there. You don't just see our sponsors. You can see every single person who's registered for the event. So an opportunity to understand a bit more about what ecosystem you're here, the people around you. By the way, after the event or after sessions, you'll have the opportunity to watch back sessions and catch up on content that you missed. And we have a lot of content, sometimes at the same time, in different rooms. So I recommend you to do that so you can actually make sure you don't miss anything over the next couple of days. And if I can also just take a moment to introduce and remind you of some of my team that's here with you, those who are going to help guide us on stage the next couple of days. I just want to take a moment to embarrass them and point out my great colleagues, not the whole team, by the way, that makes this possible. There's way too many of them to name here, but the colleagues who will be on stage, including our managing editor, Emily, our assistant editor, James, our partner at our sister publication in packaging, Philip, and Riyadh, who is here also supporting on the ground. And I did also want to acknowledge someone that you all know who isn't here for very, very good reasons. So those of you who do know Richard Logan, you may realize that about 2 weeks ago, when the world went into a different kind of crisis, there was some light that came into the world with the arrival of Richard's daughter, Sienna, who was born, and therefore Richard is handling some precious cargo over these next couple of weeks. So just a congratulations to Richard and a little bit of joy to bring to hopefully all of you in knowing that. Yeah, thanks very much. feel free to drop him a line and spam Papa Bear and let him know that we're thinking of him. So, but with that, coming back now into our conference and re-energizing Europe's supply chain through value-added logistics, I'm going to bring on shortly our opening keynote and speakers who I think you will find are really going to put all of this into perfect perspective from you. Not just in the terms of some interesting mathematics, which you'll explain, which we'll hear about soon, but really in understanding how complex the supply chain is, how deeply embedded you are as a network, and very, very importantly, how important it is to work together. So I'm very pleased for the first time to welcome on our stage two really inspiring speakers who are going to guide you through this. You will know some of them or recognize some of them, but they really have had illustrious careers in supply chain and logistics. The first I'll introduce has been more than 25 years in the sector, including with companies like Schneider Electric and Michelin, working across many, many different supply chain roles. And today, he's leading global logistics and purchasing across pretty much all logistics functions at Stellantis and is extremely active across the supply chain. And very, very pleased that I can introduce Carlos Vasquez to the stage to join us. And he's also joined by his colleague who has also considerable experience across the supply chain, including in aftermarket and sales at PSA and now Stellantis, Benoit Gaucherin, who's a senior manager, after-sales transport network design and cost control for enlarged Europe. Carlos, Benoit, thank you so much for being with us. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Stage is yours.
Check, check. So you hear me? So Carlos Vázquez.
Benoit Gaucherin.
So first of all, I would like to ask for a disclaimer. As you can see from our presentation, we are not going to be giving you an amazing content about math. As you can see from what we're showing here, you are not going to learn a lot from us about math. Second disclaimer, and we would like to manage our expectations. We are not going to be talking about the latest and greatest best practice. We are trying, in a very humble manner, to share what we think is the next best practice. And that's what we're going to try to share with you. On a very humble manner, we are going to be thinking on what is the future as leaders, how we are anticipating, and how we're going to break the next frontier. You know?
Yeah. So.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. So. Very quickly, and sorry for this lack of coordination, I was not good on this topic. We would like to give you a view of Stellantis basically in Europe. So some key numbers, 2.5 million vehicles produced, 70,000 employees out of the 260,000 that we have, and we are managing 14 brands within the world and specifically in Europe.
Yeah, and to sell these 2.5 million cars, we are present in Europe in 45 countries. 10 countries, the 10 main countries, we are present ourselves through national sales company. For the rest of Europe, we have local importers. And coming to after sales in particular, which is my area, we have 15,000 authorized repair all over Europe, 5,000 euro repair car service, which is a multi-brand network that we provide with parts. And to deliver this network, we have 143 Distrigo hubs, which are local distribution centers, either owned by private investors or by our retailer division, Stellantis and you. And the purpose of all of this is to provide parts to the 34 million cars less than 10 years that we have on the road today.
So I was mentioned by Christopher, we are managing 4 supply chains. So we have what we call the inbound supply chains from parts suppliers to our assembly plants. We also have the outbound supply chain, so everything that is finished product till dealer delivery or final customer delivery. And we have the one which is represented by Benoit, the after-sales supply chain. And we are, like everybody, developing the circular economy supply chain. So we are, as was said by Christopher, managing 4 supply chains, and my role of purchasing, I'm working with those 4 supply chains across the world. So let's move to the next.
Yeah, so coming to the first supply chain, the inbound supply chain, with the purpose to provide parts, components to the plants and warehouses. So we have 42 plants all over Europe, 23 for assembly, 10 for powertrain, and 9 sub-assembly, and 6 warehouses for after sales. We are moving yearly 55 million cubic meter parts, and in around 1.5 million trucks, picking parts from 3,500 suppliers. For that, we are using 54 carriers managed by 4 control towers. As you can see on the charts, most of the parts are coming from Europe in terms of cubes, a little bit from China and India Pacific. Here we are speaking about cubes, not euros or whatever, cubes. And the reason is why is it so high in Europe? Because the cubes and transporting cubes is what is expensive. So if we can shorten the distance, of course, we are more efficient. Most of our transport is in road today, a little bit in rail, something that we want also to see how can we extend. In terms of trends, more and more the vehicle are bigger and bigger, which means bigger parts, which means more cubes to move. While in the meantime, as we explained, the market is not growing really or even decreasing. That will be a challenge for us, either in the production or in the after sales. How can we go against this trend and optimize our transport in order to optimize our costs?
So moving to the outbound supply chain, just to give you some key numbers. So of course, we moved 2.5 million vehicles. We have also 6 warehouses for after sales. We have 44 yards in the market or compounds. We have around 28 ports across Europe. We are managing 600 lanes, and we are very pleased to have 70 carriers managing our operations for outbound, which out of one is our own asset company with 700 trucks that are operating within Europe. Where I'm the most proud is this number, where we have 34% of rail in our outbound logistics. So we are very committed to shift as much as we can to low emission transport modes, rail, vessel, and of course we are relying on road because a large part of our production, as you can see, is sourced in Europe. So that's why we are trying to balance both transport modes, but we are really focused on doing as much rail as we can. Now that we have seen these 2 pictures with inbound and the outbound supply chain, we would like to step on what was our theme on what is a state-of-the-art supply chain, what is the greatest and the best practice, and what we are here on a very humble manner, sharing what we think is the next practice. However, before we talk about the next practice, we would like all together to do a bit of flashback on what has been supply chain best practices. So we are going back to the 80s and the 90s, where supply chain focus and supply chain best practices were focused on lean, cost optimization. We were on the hangover of the first oil crisis, for the ones who know them. Nick and myself, we know them. We were there at that time. And focus at that time was produce, and produce cheap, because it was the period of crisis. From that area, then we move to the 90s to the 2000s, and at that time, the focus was on ERP, so to have visibility of our stock, to have visibility of orders, and to set up S&OP process. S&OP process was everything, our operation under control, we are efficient producing, and we need to focus on the future. We need to anticipate. We need to plan ahead. We need to work on the what-if scenarios. And that's the period where we started to break silos in the companies. We started to be extremely cross-functional. We were looking, as I said, ahead. We were planning. We were managing our frozen horizons, and that's an element that is linked to a forward-looking S&OP organization where we have some frozen horizons. And we move already in the 2000s, driven by customer centricity. So S&OP was great because we were looking ahead. We were anticipating what customer wanted. That was absolutely great. But sometimes we were too much on frozen horizons. And as the customer being a key element on our supply chain, and by the way, what makes all companies live, we enter in what was called the agility area, where we were absolutely focused on being able to deliver what the customer wanted on the snap of a finger and breaking those frozen horizons, focusing on the customer satisfaction. That's where NPS, Net Promoter Score, KPIs appear, and where we start to challenge ourselves not only on what is going to happen and how we are planning, but how we are reacting to answer to the customers. That's when Amazon started to deliver, and you were able to change your order, you were able to see your order. So it was really the period of agility that has changed completely the way we move. And this area of agility changed when COVID arrived. And when I try to describe what has changed with COVID, I have a very simple way to explain it. I said, for me, COVID, resilience moved from a PowerPoint on a boardroom to every single day meeting and activity. So really, we were all talking about resilience. We were talking about all those funny things. We need to have backup systems. We need to have this and that. But everything was on PowerPoint. And when COVID hit us, all of us, that's where things change. And that's where we have moved on what is the true resilience. But most important, and probably we can share now or later, a concept that we call anti-fragile. For me, anti-fragile, and that's a personal view, and we can share, then we are not going to be worth missing names, but for me, anti-fragile is I fail, I learn, I grow, I fail, I grow, I learn, and we are on an incremental approach. So for me, resilience is more a concept of we need to anticipate, we need to have backups, we need to have this and that. But for me, to be anti-fragile is a byproduct of the continuous improvement where you learn, you improve, and you get used to the situation. And we are on the post-COVID era, and we are now on AI. That's the world of AI, where we have basically 3 types of AI, and I'm not an expert, but that's the way I see it, and I beg your pardon if we don't agree on that, but I see 3 basic types of AIs. The AIs that help us to understand the reality, to map the reality, to sense the reality with digital twins. We have AI that is linked more to predict, anticipate, or prescribe. And then we have a third one, which is everything that is linked to the automation. So those are the 3 AIs that we see coming in. And obviously, we are all focused, and that's really where we are all working. And I don't know if we have mics here, but I have a question for the audience. But we'll start first raising hands. How many of us, and of course, we are here in Stellantis, how many of us have 2 or 3 proof of concepts or actions that are related to AI in their company? Don't be shy, I think, is that correct? Only 2, 3? Oh, come on. So we need to review the audience. But now that everybody is warm and very shy raising hands, that's why we're having the mics. What do you think when you look to this story and that now we are on this AI hype? What do you think is the next frontier, and what do you think when we look to this, has in common. And please, don't be shy, because if we don't have participation of you guys, it's not going to be fun, and then we're going to pinpoint people. So who would like? The first one is always the most complicated. Do we have great guys from DSV, or do we have great guys from DHL? Do we have great guys from Merckx, or everybody wants? Who wants to answer? Nobody wants to answer. What you think about what is the next best practice? Come on, guys.
Stefan Brunner, DHL.
Thanks God.
Morning, Carlos. We see an enormous development in the last 18 months on these all over AI topic. What we see also in the back office functions and so on, but we see already digital twins, customer service. So we have a new AI-driven customer service tool in place, where we optimize 90% of the calls are running via AI, and we can focus only on the 10% where you really need the face-to-face or the personal talk to a customer. That is a clear trend, and there will be no stop. It growing every week, every month. We have new tools in place across the world in different functions. Also simulation of supply chain flows and so on and so on.
Fully agree. Who else wants to participate? I think we have Shipeo here. They are very good at those things. Maybe he can. Pierre, are you somewhere? I don't see you. Ah, he's there. He's there.
Carlos, I think agentic AI is probably the next thing, no?
I think so. I'm fully agree. Exactly. Let me write down, because I need to. Who else wants to participate? A couple of them, and then we stop. I don't see you, so please go ahead.
Hello, my name is Gabriel from Blue Yonder. So I would also encourage everyone to think about how AI can actually be connected to the process in order to actually be an agentic participant and not just an observer of the process that maybe surface some interesting insights. And for that, there is a huge effort needed around data and application consolidation.
Excellent. I fully agree with you. I'm fully aligned with you. A couple of more, and then we stop, because I'm the one who's supposed to be speaking, so that's why.
Hi, Ruud Vosbelt from Inform. Yeah, hi Carlos, great, your method that you have set up here. I think it goes very much to real time, VIN-based for vehicle logistics, but also it goes to finding more alternative routes, so that you really can find different scenarios, not only short term, but also long term. And I also think, how can you make use of everything you can find on the internet, real time, that you quickly see where is the next volcano extinction, the next ship that stops something somewhere, and that you immediately get your early warnings, yeah, and take the right action based on optimization, AI, using all the information available on the internet as well.
Okay, I fully align. Someone else want to speak, or no? Go ahead.
Hi, Carlos, Ulrika from DSV. Yes, I think AI can help a lot, and we for sure in DSV, we do have projects ongoing as well in the AI segment. But the question is, even if we can do, black and white answers like real-time simulations, GPS answerings, and so on, it's very hard facts. And I think based on the complicated automotive supply chain, we need to deep dive in the AI topics together with our clients and to work on a partnership level, because we know by experience that, it's a lot more than a digital answer in our collaboration.
So thank you, Ulrika, and thank you everybody for your inputs. They're absolutely valuable and absolutely amazing, and that's, I think, where we are today, and that's where let me go through I wrote some buzzwords. So new tools, simulation, agentic, real-time, simulation, connection, and that's exactly what we're doing today. And it's great. But my question is more, what is the next practice? what is the future? And sometimes we stop, we reflect, and we say, okay, guys, I mean, what is really coming to the future? And I have one sentence that helped me to get things moving. When the machines have all the answers, what is really important, you know what it is important? The question. That's what is important. So, on a very humble manner, we think that AI is not the hype, is today, is a must. We need to be able to sense. We need to be able to plan, to predict. We need to automate operations. So those three triangles are needed. We need to have it. But what really is important on our viewpoint from a very humble manner is a different thing. So for us, what is important is people and cooperation. And I come back to my previous sentence. The moment that AI machines have all the answers, what we put in the center is the people who ask the questions and the cooperation cross-company. Because we are all working on AI silos. Stellantis is working on his own AI, DSV, DHL, Mosolf, all the beloved suppliers that we have are working on their own AI. Will they talk to each other? Yes, probably. We're going to have amazing things with Shipeo, with Forkites, with other people to try to connect and communicate, which is important. But what really matters is the question that we're going to ask. And that's people. And the second element is a cooperation across the value chain. So to make it absolutely simple, what we believe in Stellantis and what we have coined our Engage program is putting people in the center, working in cooperation and collaboration with our suppliers because we win together. So basically, the focus is on the people, then is going to be on the process and the technology, but across the value chain. For us, technology is a must, but is an enabler. And that's where we are really focused on today. And that's what we think is the next practice. AI is today. Tomorrow, in 20 years, when Christopher will invite, hopefully our sons or our grandsons, where you see those bubbles going down, so there will probably, hopefully we think, and that's time will say if we were right, there will be a bubble that is the era of cooperation and people-centric. The importance of the people and the cooperation for us is what really drives, and cooperation across the value chain. So that's what we think. Benoit will explain some simple examples just to show what we have done. We are going on incremental steps, but Benoit will impress you and amaze you what we have done.
So, exact. So, well, the context that we have, so although we have a evolutive market, always evolution, new challenges every day. So for 3 weeks or 2 weeks, again, a new crisis. So it's complex, it's competitive. So question is, can we do it alone? And we are humble. So I take the word of Carlos, we are humble. And though we are sure we cannot do it alone, we need our partners because they have skills, they have experience. They also can bring a critical view on what we are doing. And for that, that's not only saying, so we need you. How can we need you? And how can you bring you in our processes? How can you help us to improve our processes? The first point is to meet more regularly, as what we are doing now. So since 5 years, since COVID, a lot of things are doing, meanwhile, remote. So we know each other from calls, sometimes from video. But when you are in video, there is a slide, so you do not see the people. So meeting more regularly and meeting face-to-face. So coming together. And then we need also to better understand our constraints, our processes, to exchange our way of working in order to co-design and to bring value to all together. So for that, we have developed jointly with the purchasing colleagues the Engage program, which is a journey along the year based on 3 main steps. The first one is early in the year, a town hall remotely, so this one. So we keep the remote because we cannot always join all together, where we will give some insight and input for the coming year. So first we will make a short review, what happened the previous year, what was a success, what failed, and then provide some targets, some expectation for the coming year. Giving also some, some information about the trend, the volumes coming. So to prepare and to give information. Then what will be the key project that we are developing? Also that could impact our partners, so that they can be prepared, they can think about, and even in some cases, give us some inputs. Then, of course, we are regularly reviewing our partnerships, so we have RFQs ongoing regularly, so we will give also the planning of the RFQ to give also visibility to our partners. Then, along the year, that will be more operational. So review regularly on the operational KPI, discuss the problem, discuss the new opportunity on the short term. And then the last point, which is for me the most important, is what we call the booster days. It's a face-to-face workshop in one of our plants or one of our warehouses, where we will share, we will meet together with several carriers on one day. This will be based on four pillars. The first one is, once again, a short presentation, a review of what has been shared in the tunnel at the beginning of the year, to make in-between status, giving some new information that are coming over the year. Then, and it's also really important, a discovery tour, so that our partner can understand who are we, what are we doing, not only on paper, not only on presentation, but physically. We are going on the shop floor, showing how do we produce a car, how do we pick spare parts, how do we prepare a parcel for the spare parts, how do we ship a parcel for spare parts. So to give visibility of our business. Then after that, there is individual meeting. We meet purchasing, operations, and the partner, and we discuss what can we do to improve together our logistics and to be more efficient all together. And then, of course, a bit of networking where we exchange and where the people can know each other. I think that this part is the main point. So we can have all the AI that we want. But if we don't have the people behind, what is AI? Then, on my point of view, this is the key, knowing each other, coming together to bring value. So, few examples of the outcomes of these workshops. It can be, for some of you, maybe easy things, but for us not. So changing the transport mode, thinking about new transport mode. In that case, the dual trailer, that will be difficult. That's not something that can drive everywhere. But knowing that we will have a lack of driver, that we have cost CO2 reduction targets, that we need to improve our cost, then we need to think out of the box and find new way to transport our goods. That's the same for the multimodal. So in after sales, we don't use one single train, never. For good reason, but also for bad reason. And then one of the outcomes is, why don't you use multimodal? And now we are checking, where can we use multimodal? And for the next RFQ, we are also asking our partner, if you have a solution, a multimodal solution, propose a multimodal solution. Even if it doesn't meet all our criteria, propose, because we can be interested. And the last one is really operational. One of the points that came out is, when the trucks arrive in Vesoul, in your main warehouse, we don't know how to take a slot, we don't know how to book, and then it disturbs our operations. Then this is something that we took, and we are now changing our system in this warehouse, and we take this point to improve the process, to ease the process.
So before we go to the conclusion, we don't speak here, but we're going to have, with other colleagues, a presentation on what I call the blue and red management. So maybe Rosella and Cornelia, if you want to stand up so people see you. We're going to have, and we'll also give a round of applause. Benoit talked about the booster days. They're going to be talking about capacity dialogue, which is another way of cooperation and discussion. So both Cornelia and Rosella will have a final presentation on this topic. So as time is coming up, and then we'll go hopefully to your questions. I hope this time you'll be less shy. We would like to conclude with something that we feel that is important. And when I say feel that is important, I'm seeing, despite the lights, I'm seeing a couple of people that already have been in our booster days or partnership days. I see Grimaldi, I see DHL, I see DSV, I see our friends from Mosolf. I see plenty of people that have already been, so it's concrete thing that already exists. We want to take it to the next level. As we said, AI is important, is the basis, but now we're looking to something different. We are very clear and very committed that we are much stronger together. We are really looking to the future together, and we sincerely believe that we win together. So time is up. We don't have any more slides, so we're happy to take questions if you have. If you don't have, then we'll do whatever is the next, but I'm happy to take questions. Comments?
We have one over here.
I don't see anything, so if...
Hello.
Yeah, go ahead.
So Ron Glowinski from CNW, Courier Network. Our chairman is Mr. Ken Allen, who used to be the global CEO of DHL for many years. And he said, AI is important, but much more important than this is RI, real intelligence. So I think you can summarize all your presentation by these two letters, RI.
Absolutely aligned, and I think I don't talk about hype. I talk about basics. AI is here to help us, is here to stay, and is here to change the way we work, but fully aligned with you. More questions? Yeah, go ahead.
Good morning, gentlemen. Thank you for your presentation. I'm JC from Toyota. Could you please re-explain, one of your previous slides you mentioned the word collaboration, and on the same slide you put the acronym RFQ. I don't understand, please.
So we need to organize the relationship through processes that are structured with an end, with a beginning and an end. We need to make sure that we have enough people coming in, understanding what are requirements. We need to have an understanding of what are our needs. We have to have an understanding of what the market is proposing. So in order to do that, we have something that is commonly known for request for quotation that allows everybody to know what is needed by a customer and to understand how a supplier can bring value. And what is most important, as reality is changing, today's supplier may have an amazing value proposition and is holding a contract, but as world is dynamic, you might have another supplier that might have developed with other OEMs or in other sectors other different value proposal. And the idea is to be able to make things moving. And the only way to do it, unless you do it because you like him or because you think he's a nice guy, if you are structured with a process, with methods, and with KPIs, the process that you mentioned is the right one. So that's the reason. And what you need to understand also is that there are absolutely two different times. There's a time of an RFQ, where we bring in or we churn our suppliers. And there's a moment, as was being said by Benoit, that we are on the life of a relationship. And what we agree today on a contract of 3 years or 5 years may be different of tomorrow. So that's a reason why not only it matches perfectly, it allows to have a win-win long-term relationship.
Carlos, I'm sorry, but I disagree. So
I'm happy that you disagree.
No, it's okay. But, mentioning the word relationship or partnership, we're saying we have a start and a finish timing. I'm not sure my wife would accept this if I would say we marry now and we divorce in 3 years' time. And we do open-ended contract at Toyota exactly for that reason, that we need to be demanding with our LPs, but they need to have long-term horizons. How can they invest on systems, on people, if they risk to lose the business every 36 months? So I think that's also a question for us, the car makers here. If we want to be demanding to our partners, are we giving them the horizons for truly behaving as partners? That's my question.
So your question is absolutely valid. I will not comment marriage, money, and so on, because that's very personal. So I'll let you take your points on this topic. What is obvious is that we have a market dynamics, and we have someone that was called Michael Porter, that is well known, that explains how the market moves, and you have people that come in, you have people that come out, you have product cycles, you have a product that you launch, people look, imitate, people innovate. So in a way to foster innovation and to develop a dynamic market, we need to ensure that we are on a market and we are not on a frozen horizon. Then I agree there are many different approaches. I understand that some companies have one approach. We have another one. We feel that we are building long-term relationships that are creating value, and that's what we think from a humble perspective. More questions? Go ahead.
We get a microphone in the front here? Yeah. Come on, Gab. A little faster.
Yes. Hello, Adam Mishak, Yazaki. So I'm tier 1 supplier for Stellantis as well. My question, because it was very much focused on the collaboration, which I agree, but you very much focus on the collaborations with your LSPs and with the logistics providers. Where do you see your component suppliers and tier 1?
So I'm not going to say that I'm an expert in supply chain and logistics. I've been working for a couple of years there. I will have less view on the part suppliers, but what I can tell you, and it was mentioned, I think, by Benoit, co-design process is something that we do. And I can tell you that on the parts, we have also some co-design, some partnership with some tier 1s. And I'm not able to comment too much, but I will be able to connect with people that will explain how we do and what we do. I think it's last question.
We can do maybe one more, and then we're going to go to the panel. I think I've got one right in the middle here. Yeah.
Stefan Freichel from Cologne University. You said asking the right questions is key. I think that's right, and I hope our students, which I had the pleasure to bring in, are asking the right questions to you in future, because they are your future. But coming to your point of collaboration and bringing things together, I believe you touched very much on the vertical perspective. So it's the collaboration along the supply chain. So, but what do you think in improving that even, or looking more into the future and extending that to a horizontal and even diagonal direction? Which I mean is what you do together with your competitors. Because I think this industry is under high pressure. So you will not succeed in a supply chain which you have in front of you today. You can only succeed if you go into competition. Yeah. You have things together. In the aftermarket, for example, there's multiple examples where we can do things together. I mean, look at Distrigo, you're stocking parts of competitors. Is that the right way to do? I had the pleasure to support you with René and your colleagues. Diagonally, I mean also collaborating and making things together with other industries. We have underutilizations of Ro-Ro ships. I just talked to a gentleman yesterday evening showing me examples of how can we improve the load utilization of Ro-Ro ships with general cargo. So you have to work on collaboration, not only vertically, but also horizontally and diagonally. Any thoughts to that?
Yeah, so excellent question. I'm going to split it in two, on the verticalization and then the mutualization, if I may. Regarding verticalization, and once again, I talk on a very humble manner about what we have done in Stellantis. So we, for a number of years, we were very externalized, and it was great. We had amazing partners that brought a lot of value, but in some areas where we consider core business or that we consider that they bring significant value added to our customers, we've been internalizing and verticalizing. I'm going to give three examples that are on that verticalization. So our yards, where we prepare the cars for our customers, where you have a direct impact on the end customer if the car is not well prepared, is not well cleaned, and so on. So that we are internalizing in some aspects. We have also developed our own fleet of trucks. So we are not the biggest, but one of the biggest truck providers, and we're happy to collaborate with GM, with Toyota, with everybody to work together transporting their cars. Last element that we have internalized, we used to have some control towers that were external, and we have decided that that's one of the core processes of the supply chain, which everything that is planning, event management, that's something that we have taken inside. So to that extent, we are rethinking the way we are verticalizing our supply chain, not to do because we want to do it. It's just to say, from a customer's perspective, what brings value and where we would like to control that value chain. Because in some aspects, we think we have a stronger intimacy with the end customers, so that's why we would like to internalize. Regarding the mutualization, so I'm an absolute fan of mutualization. Then the question is how we do it. When we have a warehouse that is multi-customer, we're mutualizing. When we have non-dedicated transport, we're mutualizing. So I think mutualization will bring CO2 reductions, will bring efficiency, very likely is going to bring quality. However, the question is how we do it. And that's where, depending on the industry, and some years ago I was on an industry that had a strong foothold in Europe, and we were not willing to mutualize with others because we were giving an edge to our competitors. In other places where you have players that are the same size, to go together could benefit. But what is clear, when you have a big one and a small one, and you mutualize, the one who benefits the most is the small one. So mutualization, yes. How we do it is always a challenge. I think that's the last question.
That's the last question for here. Good news is Carlos is going to stay on the panel as we bring some others on. And Benoit's going to come back at 11 on another panel where we're talking about AI and digitalization. But firstly, thank you so much for this message, for sharing all that detail. And I think people, process, technology is the order we definitely want to emphasize here as well. So thank you so much, Carlos. Thank you, Benoit.